7, 6, 5.
Hey guys, Billy and Becky Epperhart here on this beautiful Saturday morning, and we just want you to know we appreciate you joining us here in our 3 previous Saturdays, honey. We've come on with the live stream.
We have. It's been fun.
And it's been incredible because we've had comments as well as emails and other places. I think we've had during these live streams every Saturday morning, I believe we've had someone from 6 of the 7 continents in the world that have been watching.
Amazing.
And I don't know how many countries we have, but there's a lot of countries. So in the comments or the chat section that Becky will tell you about in a second, make sure that you let us know where you're watching from. But I believe we've had every continent on live with us during the webinar. So it's been absolutely incredible. But here we're talking about and have been talking about for the last several Saturdays what we call navigating the new normal. We're talking about moving from this crisis, this coronavirus crisis that's here really in America, but around the world. It's happening all over the world, and how we navigate the new normal, going from crisis to kingdom opportunity. Amen. And so today we're going to talk about some more about investments. Of course, we always try to talk about investments in general, and we talk about the stock market, real estate. In fact, next Saturday, honey, we're going to do a special just on small businesses. We're going to emphasize that. We'll still show you the charts of where we are, but we're going to emphasize that. But today, before we get started, I want to welcome, we have with us our other host here and Vice President of Wealth Builders, Karen Conrad. Hey, Karen.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And then today we have a very special, 2 very special guests. We have today, we have Chad with us, and Chad is a certified financial planner, and I'll introduce him a little bit later in more detail. But Chad, we're really glad to have you today.
From California.
Hey.
From California.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here.
And then we have our Vice President, COO of Tricord Global. He and I, and we co-founded Tricord Global together, which we'll tell you a little bit more about that. And his name is David Briggs. So David's on with us. Hey, David.
Hey, great to be here today.
And so this morning, we're so glad that you've joined us today. And honey, what I'd like you to do is we've got all kinds of exciting things we want to tell you about how to handle stuff today, how to do stuff during the live stream we have. So this is my wife, Becky. And for those of you, this is your first time. We've been dating now 48 years.
Yep.
Been married.
On and off.
Been on and off. No, we've been married for 46 years, so we kid each other. But anyway.
Praise the Lord. Well, welcome to our webinar. And may I say happy Easter weekend. We can't forget, just because we're locked up in our houses or wherever you're at, what this special time of year is all about.
That's right. Now we celebrate, right, the resurrection of Jesus. And so on this webinar, we would be amiss if we didn't really talk about why we're all here, and that's because of our relationship with Jesus Christ.
Amen. And so I wanted to say too, as being a mom, really quickly, if you're in the Denver area and you do not have a home church, our son pastors in the Denver area, and he's doing the live streaming. You go, it's legacychapel.org, or you can go to the YouTube channel and then type in Legacy Chapel, and that's at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So I had to get that in because I'm a mom.
Well, good.
So praise God. Anyway, so now the announcements and things that we have for Wealth Builders. First off, I wanted to say if you would like to know more about us or be up to date on what we're doing on events and workshops and conferences, or Bill will be on his 15-minute, what are you calling that?
I do the answers
on
of
Facebook.
Questions that we're not able to get to.
Right.
We do a Facebook Live on Wednesdays, usually around 1 p.m.
So you can get more information on that on our wealthbuilders.org. And when you go to that, if you subscribe, we would like to give you a chapter of Bill's Money Mastery book, and it's the Triple X Factor. You're really going to enjoy that chapter, so go on, subscribe. The people that are already a part will automatically get that. You can go on and download it, and it's a great thing to have. Also, You can check our banners up top for more information on upcoming events. One of the major upcoming events that we're having is our real estate workshop. We love these.
We love them.
I love them. We keep them small. This will be our largest one. We're doing that because we had to, because of everything that happened, cancel the one in April. And it was moved to June. And so we opened it for some more seats. But the problem is we only have 5 more.
And what are the dates of the workshop?
The workshop is June the 12th through the 14th. And we have 5 seats left. But we're doing something a lot different because we're having such a volume of inquiries about it that we're going to be live streaming.
Awesome.
And so they have a code that they can go to, and it RE100, and you get $100 off, and that will bring it down to $299 if you'd like to live stream in your home. During that time, we just need for you to know that it's not going to be the interactive part that you're actually at the workshop. It'll just be the audio, but you'll get a lot of information on that.
Well, the live stream will be video, but what we mean by interaction, they won't be there at the breaks and some of the coaching sessions that we have one-on-one, the live stream, but you'll get all of the content.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get video and audio live. That's why it's called a live stream. So just so you know, you will be able to see the speakers.
Right, this
and
will be
hear
the
speakers.
interaction.
That's correct.
So, and one of those is like the speed coaching, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
So anyway, also we're going to have a giveaway. We need to announce that last week we had a giveaway.
Awesome.
And the winner was Deborah Holland.
Okay.
So Deborah,
Congratulations.
and our office will be in contact with you to get everything. And again, our giveaway is going to be the Wealth Builders Conference 2020 video, audio, and PowerPoints. And we made that decision because our 2 panelists that are on today, if you win that, they had some workshops that will be on there that you can get a lot more content that you're going to be able to do in the 15 minutes today. So that'll be good. And then we have one more if you'd like to interact, because we cannot get to all of the questions because we're trying to give a lot of information out.
Right.
Go down to the little chat, type in your questions, and we'll get those. And also, if you're on Facebook, there's a place to be able to do your questions there too in your comment section. So we'll be able to do that. And also, if you'd like to donate, you can text GIVE to 855-444-8056. So that's all the announcements.
Wow, that's awesome.
I know there's a lot.
Lot going on. So we just want to encourage you, if you hear something you don't know exactly what we meant or where we were, just go to wealthbuilders.org and you can find information on there.
Or type in your question.
And you can, and also during the live stream, of course, we want to encourage you to type in your questions. We know many of you have questions on real estate, on the stock market, on businesses and other areas of investing. And so one of the things that I just want to say as we begin, every week we have been looking at the charts of the stock market, and it's primarily been of what we call the S&P 500. And again, I just want to remind you of this, that we use this because typically the S&P 500 is what we would call the greatest gauge or indicator of kind of where our economy is, typically speaking. Sometimes that's not true. We may be getting borderline right now to where that's not true. But what I want to do is show you, since the coronavirus has started, what has happened. You know, last week I mentioned this. It's like when you were younger. Remember those old thermometers your mother would use?
Ooh, yeah.
She would shake them and then have to go down. Then they'd make you you couldn't talk, and then stick it under your mouth. And,
Tastes like alcohol.
yeah, you know, anyway. But and then they would have to read it with a pair of glasses to see what your temperature were. Nowadays, they just come up and get one of those little beepers and beep you on the forehead and it instantly know what your temperature is. Well, that's what the S&P, these graphs are like. So the first graph we'll put up is the one that I put up on March the 21st. It'll say March the 20th because that was Friday. And you can see by looking at this graph how far down the market came and how quick it fell. And honey, this is when all of the coronavirus, stuff began to come out, and the market just start falling, you can see that. Then the next Saturday on March the 28th, I show you the Friday, March the 27th, because the market's only open. Stock market's only open Monday through Friday typically. Now, we were closed. The stock market was closed on Good Friday yesterday. And so basically, as we look at these, March the 27th was through Friday, and you can see there where the market started coming back up, it had what we call a bounce, and the market kind of bounced back up. That's exactly a week later, obviously, March the 20th, March the 27th. And then you see April the 3rd, which is a week later, and then you can see where the market kind of went down. Everybody see that? So the market's trying to react and respond to where things are. And so then if we go to the next week, we're going to see another bounce. And you see this bounce that's there. Now, look, nobody knows for sure what the market's going to do, but as we keep, Derek, if you wouldn't mind, just keep that April 11th there here for about 30 seconds, because I want to talk about that bounce. Most people who are in the business, who are in basically the financial business, securities business, think, many of them, by far the majority of them, think that these uptrends we're seeing here are temporary. Some of them think that they're not, they're long-term. My guess is we're going to go back down again. And my guess is for those of you that are a little more sophisticated, we're probably going to test the lows again. We'll be close, and we're going to show you another graph next week. But just so some of you know, I bought some of the stock. This basically showing you here on this graph. I bought stock almost right at the very bottom of where the pink is there on the trough. I bought some stock back on March, I want to say it was like the 23rd or 4th. And I bought it, for those of you who've been doing this, I bought quite a bit at $2.20 a share. And I think it closed this past Thursday because Friday was closed at $2.80 a share. So you can see it bumped up pretty quick from $2.20. Now, I never closed at $2.20. I just happened to buy it one day where it was down a little bit on what's called a limit order, and I got it low. I'm only telling you that for this reason right now. None of us know where the market's going to go, but I'm giving you indicators of kind of where we are in the economy. Many people ask us, honey, about real estate. They ask us what to do with their businesses. And so as we answer some of the questions that you may ask today and this coming Wednesday, we'll address what some of this means specifically to real estate, what some of it means specifically to your business. But today, this is going to be a very informative time, for you and with you, because we have Chad Francis with us. And Chad, as I mentioned earlier, he is a certified financial planner, which by the way, if you don't know what that is, I can assure you it's a big deal. And he has been in the financial services industry now for over 20 years. But what you and I like about him is he graduated from Texas A&M, and he was a football player for 4 years at Texas A&M. And I just have to chat. I'm going to tell our story a little bit with you. Actually, who introduced me to Chad is a guy that some of you know who he is. His name is Lance Wallnow. And Lance, I call Lance cousin, And so cousin Lance and I were in the green room at one of the conferences we were together speaking at. And he told me, he said, "Hey, I got somebody I want you to meet." And whenever I met Chad, standing in the green room, I just felt that there was something more to the relationship than just meeting somebody. And so you and I learned a long time ago, honey, don't make more out of something what it is, don't make less out of it than what it is. So I really felt the Holy Spirit connected us together. Chad is the owner of Authentic Counsel, which is a registered investment advisor. And I've really appreciated Chad's attitude and heart. And so we have started, myself, David Briggs, who you'll meet in just a second again, and Chad, we've put together what's called WealthBuilders Investment Services. And that's to help you and many people really around the world. I mean, we have people from around the world calling us and asking us for counsel and asking us to help them with investments. And so because we're not licensed investment advisors ourselves. We're people that coach on this stuff, but we decided to add Wealth Builders Investment Services. And so today I've asked Chad if he would to take some time here and kind of share with you what we're doing with Wealth Builders Investment Services. And Chad, I know we've started some of our own funds that we have called, that's under the Wealth Builders Investment Services that we're calling our Wealth Builder Funds. And I know we have some specific names, but if you would mind, just kind of take a minute right now to kind of share with us where you think we are in the market itself, and then what we're doing to be able to help people to make wise choices on their investments.
During this time.
So,
Yeah, thanks
Chad,
so much.
are you there?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Great. Thanks so much for the introduction and Giga Maggies. So,
Yes.
So one of the things, as Billy mentioned, I'm a certified financial planner, and we work with families and individuals all over the U.S., just helping them make smart choices with their money and their investments and long-term plans. So one of the things that we've set up within our firm, Authentic Counsel, is, as you mentioned, a division called Wealth Builders Investment Services. And I think really the heart of what you and I talked about last year, Billy, was to create a platform within our company where we can take a lot of the teaching philosophies and kingdom principles that you write about and teach on, and apply them to the investment models and the research that we do at our company. And if you go to slide one thing just for more information for everyone, I've done a larger presentation, which I've posted to my website, but I just want to share a few of these slides today. And I want to thank everyone on the call who has already contacted us. Many of you, we've had tremendous response, Billy and Becky, just from past webinars and Zoom calls. And so I want to thank everyone that's listening to this, that's reached out. And we've taken some steps to provide more information. So just because I'll forget at the end, but you can go to wealthbuilders.org, and then you can select Wealth Builders Investment Services, and that'll take you to my company's website, which is AuthenticCounsel.com. We've loaded a lot of information on there, and we've got 2 different presentations on there. If you just want to learn more, if this conversation today kind of spurs you into thinking you want to make wise decisions with your finances, your investments, your retirement, feel free to go there. There's a couple of on-ramps for how you can get more information on that. I do want to share a little bit, and you can go to the next slide. I am an investment advisor, so I just have to, my attorneys want me to share this slide. This is for educational purposes only, so we're going to talk about some specific investment models that Billy and I have talked about that meet the philosophy that Billy has, that I have with investing in the market. But I'm not giving specific advice, so if you do have specific questions, we'd be happy to visit with you on your particular situation for that. If you go to slide 3, when I was praying about joining up with Billy and Becky, I had talked to Lance Wallnow a lot about what Billy was doing, and I really feel like this verse really accentuates what everyone on the call is really seeking to do. And it's from 1 Chronicles 12, and it says, from the tribe of Issachar, there were 200 leaders of the tribe with their relatives. All these men understood the signs of the times and knew the best course for Israel to take. And I think that's really the heart of what Wealth Builders and what Andrew Womack Ministries and Lance Wallnow Ministries and all the work that groups like this are doing, is to be those voices of wisdom. And that's really our heart in Wealth Builders Investment Services, is to ascertain the signs of the times with the stock market, financial planning, what the Federal Reserve is doing, and make wise choices in light of that. I want to jump to slide number 7 if I can. I just want to share a few items. This is a really simple, what I call napkin diagram. This comes from Howard Marks, who wrote a book called Mastering the Market Cycle. But if you didn't know anything about the markets and you wanted to know, well, from an economic perspective, where are we in the cycle? This is just a very simple chart that I show in one-on-one meetings with clients. The top of that chart, the economic cycle generally goes in this form. And the top of that chart, there's a red "we are here" arrow. And that is typically when the economy is at its max expansion level, when there's minimal unemployment, when earnings are very high on stocks, when we're at max utilization. And that's really where we found ourselves. Probably the fourth quarter of 2018 is when the economy started to peak at that level. And just because the economy peaks doesn't mean that the stock market starts to go down. That they don't have a binary relationship. Now, on this diagram, you'll see there's an orange arrow in the middle, which says "we are here now." And we're probably a little bit above that orange arrow, just based on the chart that Billy just showed about the stock market coming back the last few weeks. But what this is telling us is that from a very long-term perspective, we have to look at short-term moves in the market with a long-term lens. If we buy investments when we're up at the red arrow, they're more expensive. If we buy them around the orange arrow, they're moderately priced to maybe a good value. And then clearly the lower green arrow there, that's the best time to buy stocks based on the long-term economic cycle. So hopefully that helps give you a little bit of perspective on it. One of the things that we do in working with families is we're not so much worried about short-term moves in the market. We really want to take biblical principles and apply them to creating a personal investment plan for you in light of where we are, both in 2020, but also where we think we're going to be 2, 3, 5 years from now. You can go to the next slide. On this next slide, one of the things that Billy talks a lot about in his Money Mastery book, and we teach a lot at Authentic Counsel, is just having proper diversification. And Solomon in Ecclesiastes 11:2 said, "Divide your portion to 7 or 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth." And I think what better wisdom to fall back on during an economic crisis than how do we diversify our resources that God has entrusted to us, whether it's through cash or gold or real estate or a business we're investing in or the stock market. Clearly Solomon's wisdom holds up today because research shows that the best risk-adjusted return is to have 7 or 8 things in your portfolio. And how funny is that Solomon's advice would ring true today, even if in MIT research studies. And again, Billy talks about this in his books, but some of the asset classes that we invest in, I've listed here just for educational purposes: large cap, small cap, international stocks, commodities, real estate, intermediate bonds, cash. There's way more than that, but I just want to give a flavor for what's out there. And on this next slide, and in fact, I'll skip ahead to slide number. Well, let me go ahead and talk on this one just real quick on this slide, and then Billy, if it's okay, I'd like to just introduce 4 of the different Wealth Builders models that we've created. Absolutely. This chart is just we call it a periodic table, but I realize it's small print, but I just drawn a red line on this chart. And just from an educational standpoint, this goes back to 2000 through the end of last year. And it looks at all the different major asset classes that you could put your money in. So Billy's talked about the S&P 500 and the SPY. That would be the blue box that I've outlined in red. And what you'll see is that from year to year, no color square is at the top every year. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about, well, how do we manage our risk with our goals? How do we be a good steward? We don't want to put all our money in real estate. We don't want to put all our money in the S&P 500. This chart is just saying, hey, it's good if you have a manager or a process by which you can navigate being in a mix of all these different asset classes.
Hey, Chad, I like that chart. That's a good chart.
Yeah, so we just call it a periodic table, and that's helpful for us when we look at research models for, like right now, national stocks are down even more than U.S. So a lot of people are looking at that as far as investing, allocating resources to international. The next two slides, and Billy, feel free to jump in with me on this. We do a lot of research at our firm. We're an independent advisory firm, and we custody through TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab. So if you're interested in opening an account, those are the custodians we would work with. But we work with a lot of world-class research firms. And one of the things that we've been working on with Billy is taking the biblical teaching philosophy and applying it through the lens of our investment research. And so I want to share on this slide just two of our portfolios that we actively manage today. And then I'll share on the next slide two other ones. The first one's called Rising Dividend, WealthBuilders Rising Dividend. And this is a diversified portfolio of companies that have a strong balance sheet. They have a history of paying increasing dividends. And this could be in exchange traded funds or mutual funds or individual securities. Now, this is a great investment for any dollar amount. You can be a starter, a new person to investing, or you can be an advanced investor. And these, Billy, kind of go to your kind of that XXX teaching on money mastery of how do you create passive income and cash flow.
Yeah, so Chad, so they know I really like the name Rising Dividend, because you have to remember dividends on stocks are paid by companies based on the number of shares that you own, and then based on what dividend they may declare that year, either quarterly or annually. So the beauty of it is it's like getting rent from real estate, right? So you don't, when we talk about building an orchard, Chad, right? A lot of people, I use the example of vegetables. If you grow a vegetable garden, most of the time, let's say like a head of cabbage, you got to go cut the head off in order to eat the cabbage. I like to say building, having an apple tree as opposed to having a head of cabbage. The apple tree, you go pick the apple off of the tree's still alive and continues to produce year after year. And that's the whole idea behind the Rising Dividend Fund, is that these companies actually declare dividends in most cases, most of the time. There's no long-term guarantee that that's true, but typically you can look at historical performance. So you're able to pick apples off the tree every year. You get paid a certain amount each year, and you don't have to sell the stock. Most people, Chad, in today's markets, they're the only way they know of making money on stock is whether it goes up or down. Well, with rising dividends, you get a dividend coming off like an apple tree producing an apple, and that matches the second X in fact, we're giving away the XXX chapter book today. The chapter that the dividend fund, Chad, matches what we talk about when we talk about income at the second X level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things we love about that strategy. And one question we get a lot is, well, given the economic crisis, are companies going to be laying off? Are they going to close? Are they going to cut their dividend? And so one of the things we've been doing is researching companies, the strength of the companies, to see how secure their dividend is. So much like your cash flow from rent, you want to know you have secure tenants. Same way for us, we want to make sure that the companies, just because a company pays a high dividend does not mean we should invest in it. That dividend could not be secure, but we go through a process of just screening those companies to see how sustainable their dividends are.
Good.
The next fund or strategy, again, these are all strategies that we offer through Authentic Counsel, is one that's really near to my heart, and we call it WealthBuilders biblically responsible core. And that's a mouthful, but let me just explain what that means. There's a growing trend in the Christian community for people to not only vote their ethics, but to invest their ethics. And I believe what we're going to see in this decade is more and more Christians realizing that to impact the seven mountains, they need to vote with a kingdom worldview, but they also need to invest with a kingdom worldview. Now, it used to be that you could not make a good return for low fees if you wanted to invest what we call biblically responsible. So if you go do a Google search on BRI, which stands for Biblically Responsible Investing, there's all sorts of research out there. And what we've been doing is we want to find good quality core companies to invest in that are in the S&P 500, but that align with biblical ethics. So we're looking for companies that are not involved in contributing to Planned Parenthood, or they're not involved in anything related to human trafficking or unfair child labor laws. But we're also looking for companies that have a maximum impact, a social impact, whether they're trying to find out cures for diseases or cures for poverty. There's a lot of publicly held corporations that they're not Christian companies. They just want what's best for the world. And so we look at it through the lens of how do we screen some things out that we don't align with, but also along the lines of what you guys do with Tricord. What are companies out there doing that are looking to really make an impact for the greater good?
Amen.
Man.
And so that model, just to summarize on the biblically responsible core, it's a great foundational model for a beginning investor. It's great for any asset size, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And this would be similar to the SPY that you talk about, Billy, but we've screened it for biblical ethics. And these are going to be index funds, very diversified. And what we like about it is it can be good we have conservative, moderate, and also aggressive allocation. So the 25-year-old may be more in the aggressive model, a 45-year-old may be in the moderate, a 65-year-old may be in the conservative. Again, you could be in any of these regardless of age, but we've created them to where investors of all profiles can invest with biblical ethics in mind.
And then Chad, you got the next two, right?
Yeah, let me cover the last two, if I may, real quick. The last two, these are a little bit more higher end strategies. Generally, you want to have $100,000 or more for these. These are good to build on top of the first two that we went over. The first one's called WealthBuilders Premier, and this is just our best ideas at the current moment. So as Billy, as you've talked about the economic cycles and the market cycles, there are times, I know, how you invest your money, how I invest my money, where I may not have all my money in stocks. I may have it in different things and in different percentages. So Premier is a tactical model where we're taking our best research and saying, where's the best opportunity right now based on the global environment? And then the last, yeah.
It's more what we call, it's more of an active investing type fund.
Exactly.
More passive.
Right. So the first two are more passive, buy and hold, reinvest the dividends or take the dividends depending on your need. This would be a more active, we call it tactical, to where we might be more in stocks right now. We might be more in bonds or gold or real estate or other things. Just depends on where the opportunities are.
Good. Okay, good, Chad.
All right. And then the last slide, and then I'll pivot back to you, is what we call, go back to the previous slide. I apologize. WealthBuilders Private Alternatives. This really goes along with the work that you guys do with Tricord Global. And so I know, David, I know you wanted to talk on that, but one of the things we want to have the ability to do is for accredited investors, and that's investors that have $1 million or more, we want to be able to offer private investments that may be in private real estate, private equity, private debt. We're looking for things that are not traditional stocks and bonds. this is just a private offering, and it kind of depends, Billy, on what you and I run across that we like and we want to recommend. But I did want to mention that just here at the end.
Yeah, just so they know, in this case, we do it a little different with Tricord, but in this case, they wouldn't have to invest $1 million. They just need to make sure they have $1 million in liquidity and liquid assets separate from their home for someone to qualify, or their income as a couple. What does it have to be now, Chad, to be accredited? 50?
Yeah, I know it's liquid net worth of 1 million,
Right.
and then I'll have to check on the income level. But yeah, it doesn't mean they have to invest $1 million. They could invest $50,000 into a private real estate investment as
Right.
long as their liquid net worth is $1 million. So excluding their home is generally the rule on that.
Yeah,
But,
so I wanted to clarify. So I want to say and I'm watching our time, Karen. I want you to know I'm watching our time here. So we're getting low. We want to have time for questions. But we do have Tricord Global that many of you who are watching now may already be familiar with. But I have David Briggs with me, who's the Vice President of Tricord Global, as well as our COO. In fact, there's a picture. Look at those handsome guys there. And that's David there on the screen left. But I just wanted to, David, why don't you share with the folks a little bit of what we're doing in Africa right now. And then just to mention that we pay on Tricord, depending on how much money you invest and for how long you invest, we pay between 4% and 8% annual simple interest on that money. And so David, why don't you share with us a little bit about what we're doing there?
Yeah, I really, Tricord is real unique because it's not just social responsible investing, it's social impact investing. We have direct impact, so it's missional in the kingdom as well. So they get income off of their investment, but we have 3 companies that we invest with right now in Uganda. One is Glotrans, which is one of the first Christian banks in Uganda. And Glotrans is that we have clients through there that do microfinance lending and also probably macro lending or middle range lending to different businesses and people in startup business or having access to capital, because the small to medium enterprises don't have access to capital. And so we provide access to capital for them to grow their businesses, and they supply 33% of the GDP of developing nations, which is unique. So we have Glotrans. They also supply 44% of all the jobs that are needed. And so it's a target-rich environment. And so these people are people that have great businesses, great business ideas. They're Christians. They love God, but they have no access to capital. So we supply the capital, and they can either have a small business or scale or grow their businesses. So anything from $50 to $10,000, $15,000. We have the smaller clients. We usually do those through another company called Glory Sacco, which does group lending instead of individual lending. And in those models, it's not just lending. What they do is they make people economically active. They train them with business training. They teach them about budgeting, negotiating, banking. They teach them how to do business models. Basically, they have all the fundamental business education they need to be sustainable and successful. And as they become successful, they become the major influencers in the community. Like the one lady we had mentioned before that started out with a water business. Now she has 3 boutiques plus her water business, and she's what we call like a county commissioner. She was Muslim, but through the loan officer actually led her to Christ. And she's become very influential. We have another business lady that deals with orphans and children and helps young girls start in business. We also have the Farm Uganda, which provides food for schools as well as 20 to 30 employees. They have with their tractors, they plow other people's ground. Most of our clients, in fact, in our mid-year magazine that comes out, we have several examples of clients in that magazine that employ anywhere from 1 to 2 to 5 to 30 employees. Some of their businesses are scalable, some of them are not. Then we have Genesis Microfinance or Genesis microfinance company, which is out in the rural areas, not in the city, and they do small business lending, like co-op lending, and what we call here credit union style lending, and they do the educational pieces. And the thing is about their lending, their default rates there are less than 5%. So we range from default lending we're talking about safe lending. The defaults are under 10%, and in the corporate lending part of it, they're under 5%. So we have about 4,000 clients that we directly affect in Uganda through the three companies that we do our lending, and those people are Christians. They have kingdom ethics. We do social impact. They, in fact, are, just real quickly, Glotrans, our bank, actually took the local police department out of their social responsibility fund, and out of their profits, they completely refurbished the local police station there. The bank itself did. And the police station was very, very appreciative of that, because what they're doing, they're making a fundamental difference in their civic responsibility and gaining influence in the community, and they become the community voices that actually does what we believe in the Seven Mountains. People begin to take on positions, whether in government or business. So it's a microcosm. It's a way to actually do social impact investing, unique in that you can get income-based return like you must with a bond. You get your percentage, and you can even compound it if it's so. We have the investment side of it, but the investment side of it actually takes on an active kingdom building perspective, changing lives, people getting born again, and influencing communities. It's a real unique way, and I'm just thrilled about it, because we also, part of what we do in Tricord too is we constantly get emails and people that contact us. Even when we don't do the lending, we do consulting with people that want to start and do microfinance. So even if we don't have money in certain places where we're not working, we actually do consulting where people are, consulting is like you're trading dimes for quarters. And so we're helping empower them to understand how to build investment opportunities and grow businesses in their community.
And so David, if people want to invest in Tricord Global, we're opening up the investments again in June for Tricord Global. They make 4 to 8%, and you choose somewhere between 5 to 7 years for your investment. And of course, you would accumulate interest every year. Now, Wealth Builders Investment Services is open at any time. You can call Chad, contact Chad. Tricord, we only open Tricord now up in usually January, February, March, and then June, July. Occasionally, if we have a big demand, hunting for people that need loans or whatever, something we didn't anticipate, then we sometimes will open up in the fall.
But that information's all on our website.
Yeah, it's
wealthbuilders.org.
Yeah, you can go to wealthbuilders.org and see it. David, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm just saying, if they want to know more about that, they can go to wealthbuilders.org, contact our office. We have all of our notes and compound notes and our RI rollovers, everything that we do investing that way. It's not a donation. I've had people ask me, well, is this donating money? No, it's a true investment, but that investment goes to kingdom purposes, and they can get all that information digitally and learn more about what we're doing.
So you can invest with your IRA, just so that's clear. And just to make sure we're clear, the minimum IRA investment's $25,000 US, and the minimum cash investment is $20,000 US. The median investment that we have in Tricord per person who invests is $100,000. So it's quite a large group. But if you have smaller amount, let's say under those amounts, and you want to get started, that's where calling Wealth Builders Investment Services is important. Mm-hmm. Or if you have a large amount to invest and you want to put some in Tricord and then some in the other kind of investments, that's another reason, of course, to call Wealth Builders Investment Services. So listen, we've been longer than we've been any time before. It looks like all of you are staying with us really well, but we have some questions that I know have been coming in. They're notifying and telling me, and so let's take a few questions, and we'll go to Karen Conrad now. Karen.
Great. Thank you so much. We are getting all sorts of questions, and I'm going to start with some questions on Tricord since we're kind of talking about that right now. And so Margaret Petty asks this. She said, first of all, she's so impressed by the work done at Tricord. She says, God bless you eternally for this. And she says she has a vision to bring a model like this to America. How could this be accomplished right here in this country?
David?
Well, I think you understand the models are the same and systems are the same, but the amounts, what's different in the nuances would be the legalese of each country, knowing what each country does in the banking laws, and also the entry level. So you have the level of poverty, like in the poor nations, developing nations, their level of poverty is like, $1.25 a day. So the kind of the rule of thumb is most businesses will start at the poverty level for the year. So you can do a $300 a year loan in Africa in some places, and that's a year's salary. Here in America, you're going to start your businesses. You'd start your businesses probably around the $15,000 level, because that's where our poverty level line is, and then also you have different access to capital in different countries. In America, we have unique different access to capital. But what you can do is you can do the model, you can do the education. The model would work, and if you'd want further information about that, you could just go to wealthbuilders.org and send an info email, and I can get back with you about your specific situation. So every country has a different nuance. I'm not trying to escape the question, but the model are the same, systems are the same, education's the same, but the level of entry would be different as far as financially.
And then the other thing I want to say, in America, as well as in other Western nations, when you go to somewhere like Uganda, for someone to survive, just to survive, you can't go get a job.
Right.
In Western nations, we're blessed that we can just go get a job and earn really good money in many cases. However, in some of these countries we're talking about, the economy's not to a place where people can go get jobs. And so people have to be entrepreneurs just to survive. So therefore, it allows us to be able to go in and help empower them, because credit and capital are not available. In America, we have all kinds of programs that keep us, how do I say this and still be positive? Sometimes being able to get a good job is our greatest hindrance sometimes in the entrepreneurial level of things. And so thank God we live in a Western country. Thank God we live in America. Thank God we can get a job that's good, but sometimes it prevents us from being entrepreneurial, and it keeps us with an employee mindset. In countries like Uganda, there's no choice. You can't just go get a job. So there's all kind of graduates that graduate from a 4-year MBA, or excuse me, a 7-year MBA program, and they still can't get a job, and they have an MBA, so they have to end up being entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So this is about investing. This comes in from Patricia Moss. Thank you, Patricia, for joining us. And she's been interested in investing in a 401k, and she's been trying to learn about some different ways to invest. And based on what she's seen, she wants to know about dollar cost averaging. Can you explain what that is? And is this a good way to go about looking at investments?
So Chad, why don't you take that one?
Sure. Yeah, dollar cost averaging is a great tool to invest a set dollar amount or a set percentage into a 401k or an IRA or a brokerage account. So there's a couple ways we see it done effectively. I guess the short answer is yes, we would encourage you to do that. And if you think about it, if you're contributing monthly to a 401k through payroll deduction, you are by default dollar cost averaging, right? Because if you get paid once or twice a month and you have $100 come out to go into a 401k or a 403b, it's going in incrementally. So to your point on your chart, Billy, you know, we don't know what the market is, but if we're putting in a little bit of money each month or each pay period, we think that's a really wise thing to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. We have a question that came in from chat, and it is, do you think airlines are a good buy today?
Well, I'll take that one. I think right now, if you look at how the stocks have been hit in just about any of the travel stocks, when you're looking at them, they have been hit. And so if you want to buy some of the stronger of the bigger airlines that have better financial sheets, I think right now Delta Airlines has looked pretty strong. I know Warren Buffett just sold some of his stake in Delta Airlines. But what I would say to answer that question more roundly would be, if you've never done that before, where you've invested in very specific stocks. Now, if you have, and that's who the question is coming from, and you already have some experience doing that, then basically just look at the ones you think look the strongest, some of the big airlines, and the ones you think are really going to grow and expand into the future. What I would say for everyone, unless we have some more experienced technical traders, everybody who's listening should take more of a long-term view toward their investing. And so don't just try to make a quick buck overnight. If you're more sophisticated and you know how to do that, then some of the airline stocks might be a possibility for you.
Very good. Thank you. Sarah Spencer asks this: are you expecting the market to decline after the K2 earnings are posted?
Yeah, quarter two, Chad?
You know, we definitely think with Q2 and even Q3 earnings, we expect a lot of downgrades from companies across the board. We've been on a lot of calls listening to corporations and what they're already preparing for. So I think we expect some pretty significant downgrades, and typically a company, when they do earnings, they give a forward-looking statement. We expect most companies to completely take out forward-looking statements as far as expected sales of iPhones and so forth. So expect a lot of bad economic news from corporations on earnings. How that will affect the market, I think it's likely that will feed into the market coming back down from this bear market bounce we've had. We'll have to wait and see.
Great. Thank you so much, Chad. This is a question coming in from Michael Wood, and he says, are there opportunities with the 5G technology to get in on the ground floor for an investment?
Chad?
You know, 5G, the cloud, Internet of Things, you know, there's a lot of different technology that we think is foundational for this decade. So, you know, some of the 5G, the basic ones is certainly Verizon, but there's also suppliers to that. There's also the 5G towers themselves. So short answer is yes. You can invest in big companies that are involved in that, whether it's the telecom or semiconductors or just an ETF that follows that. But I think that is a very good trend for the next several years, 5G and the cloud as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So we've got Jackie with a question, and she says this: I've never invested in stocks or real estate. How much should I invest as a startup, and where should I invest? Can you suggest some options, as she is a novice?
Well, I would say if you're a novice, Jackie, the first thing you need to do is take some time. We teach on the law of wisdom of gaining some knowledge in a particular area. And so, for example, you could open an account, say, for example, with Wealth and select a Wealth Builders fund to be able to build up your capital over a period of time. And that would be one safe way to do that. But then one of the biggest mistakes I see in when I travel and do the conferences and we do questions and answers, one of the people who, many times the people who ask the most questions in those conferences about investing are people who are already retired and have actually saved up quite a large amount of money, but they didn't learn in their working years anything about investing. And so, for example, some of them retire and think they're going to have $100,000 a year in income, and then they put all of their savings or all of their investing through a retirement account, and it wasn't a Roth IRA, it was a regular IRA, and they end up having to pay a high amount of taxes on that money. So what I would encourage you to do is two things. One is learn a little bit about just how to open up an account. Chad can help you with that, and look and start investing small amounts at a time, or if you have large amounts, and start also learning about real estate at the same time. And remember, if you want to actually make an investment in individual real estate, then you have to save up enough for a down payment. So I like to see you have enough for a down payment and have a matching amount of money in your brokerage account or in your retirement account, have a matching amount of money at a minimum just to get you started. The advantage of real estate is that you can leverage. In other words, you can use a small amount of money and control a much bigger asset. The advantage of stock investing is you can open an account to get started for a minimum amount of money. I mean, some of the larger groups now don't even have a minimum amount. And I think with ours on our side, Chad, what's our minimum amount for people to get started?
I mean, really on the two foundation models, the rising dividend or the BRI core, I mean, you could start with as little as a couple $1,000s. You're just going to put it into one of those index funds.
Okay. So basically, my advice to her is to do both. Learn something about what it looks like in the stock market, learn something about what it looks like in real estate. And for those of you who may be a little more sophisticated watching, if you want to invest in real estate, you don't want to own individual real estate, you can invest in what's called a real estate investment trust. And we call it a REIT, and you can invest in REITs. There's different kinds of REITs. There's leverage REITs, non-leverage REITs, there's different kinds. But Chad can help guide you through some of that if you're interested at that level.
Very good. Okay, we've got a question coming in from Kirby Thompson. And so there's a little bit to this, and it kind of ties in business and investments. He says, my small business was just approved for a PPP loan from the SBA, which is purported to be forgiven. Would it be wise for me to take a portion of these funds and invest some of the money, since I forecast that my business will be able to sustain acceptable income stream despite the economic crisis? And he adds, I will not have a problem proving that my payroll and other costs will be consistent the next 2 months.
Yeah, because I think the short answer is yes. You just make sure that you're using the funds in the way that you have described as far as the coverage of your employees, which is that's really what it is it's basically an employee protection program now there's other loans out there besides that. But the reason I say the short answer is yes is because every small business does need capital liquidity to be able to keep them safe. And so you can and there's different ways to invest that liquidity, but you can do it in what we've been talking about with Chad, and your money can still be liquid and accessible in different forms and ways. And so it never hurts to take extra money and put it in the bank. Just make sure that in the process of what you're doing, as far as the PPE is concerned, that you're not doing anything that wouldn't be, that's unethical. Based on your description of it, it doesn't sound like to me that would be unethical.
Okay, wonderful. We did have a question come in just to ask again about the real estate workshop. So I'll just share that if people want to attend the real estate workshop, we've got 5 spaces left for the one in person, and that's in June 12th to the 14th. And if you want to attend online, you have that $100 coupon that Becky described, RE100. Go to wealthbuilders.org, click on the real estate banner, and you'll be able to attend that video live stream for $299. So that'll be available just for a short period of time. So make sure you take advantage of that. Okay, one more question here, and we're almost out of time. It's gone so fast. This comes in from Ron Moore. And Ron says, do you believe real estate investing or small manufacturing might be more profitable for medium length investing?
Well, if you have, I'm going to jump on that one. I think if on the small manufacturing, if you already have experience, and I want to say this to everybody listening, invest in stuff that you understand. And so if you don't understand something, that's where you have to get someone like Chad to help you understand, or listen to some of our Wealth Builders teachings. And we do have a Wealth Builder University website that'll be coming online that we'll be telling you about a little later. But you need to learn. But it sounds like, Ron, you may already know something about small manufacturing. And so if you do, then and you understand that world, then sure, you invest in those areas. Now, let me say this to you. Whatever area you know something specifically about, that could be your primary investment area of where you deploy your capital and put your capital to work. But always make sure you have a secondary area that you understand about investing. So, for example, small manufacturing would be what I would call business income. So real estate income could go hand in hand with that, as well as you build up that small manufacturing business. So I want to say this to everybody listening. Don't just learn about one thing. You need to learn at least two things, preferably three, in the different areas of investing to be able to deal with the things that we need to deal with as we move forward.
Wonderful. Well, we are already out of time, Billy and Becky. Thank you
Wow.
so much for having this live stream, and we'll let you close it out with our audience.
Well,
this has been really good.
This has been awesome. I want to say thank you to Karen and Chad and David for an awesome job today and all that we've done. But we don't want to be remiss to understand this is, of course, Easter weekend. Tomorrow's Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. And of course, all that we talk about in Wealth Builders, that's we talk about making sense of making money for making a difference. And it's really about the kingdom. And it's about moving from crisis to kingdom opportunity. And so everything we do and everything we talk about, we want it to be biblically based and Christ-centered. And so we would be amiss and remiss if we didn't really pray with you today on this special Easter weekend, and pray for your finances, but also pray for your family, pray for your health, pray for every aspect of your life. And then I just want to encourage you as a believer, as a Christian, that God really put us here to see thy kingdom come, thy will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. So if there's people in your life, neighbors, people you work with, and I know people are sheltering at home in most of the states today, but I just want to encourage you with this. You make a difference in somebody's life. Reach out and touch someone, give someone a kind word, call somebody. And so we just want to encourage you today. So let's close off this webinar today with a time of prayer together, and we speak blessings and increase. So Father, we come to you today. We thank you for the wisdom and understanding and knowledge that has come today in this webinar. We pray for people on this Easter weekend. We thank you for Resurrection Sunday. We thank you for your blessings in our life, and we speak health and healing over people today. We say no plague shall come nigh your dwelling. And then we declare and speak over families and relationships. We pray for increase and blessing over people's lives and families today. And then Becky and I thank you, Lord, for touching each person today that's watching. We thank you, Lord, for increase and blessing over their lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we'll go ahead.
I was just going to say happy Easter and be blessed.
And we'll see you right back here. Remember, Wednesday at 1 p.m. We'll see you there answering questions. Bye-bye.